iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them 4 abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
There are tracks that just feel right for this car. The Nürburgring, Mosport, and Watkins Glen are all tracks where this car has raced in real life and seem right at home. But nothing fits like a glove quite like Spa. Though it's not the same layout that our Lotus raced, the nature of the circuit has been well retained in its modern format. With that in mind, we prepare to close out the season in classic style as we get ready to watch round 12 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Johan Vandenbelt. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Johan, of the tracks on iRacing that see more races than any other, I'd be willing to wager that Spa is at least within the top 5.
No, absolutely, Joe. But I think there's a good reason for that because Spa, it's one of those circuits that lets you relive the good old days, and especially if you show up in the Lotus 49. Now, this track was founded almost 100 years ago in 1921. The old public roads between the towns of Malmedy, Stavelot, and Francorchamps were used for the first race in the Ardennes forests. Even though, like you said, racing here is very common in iRacing, the first official real-life event wasn't popular at all. Only one driver registered and the race was cancelled. After that, however, Spa managed to win a place in racing drivers and fans' hearts alike. The Lotus 49 raced here indeed on the old layout, a 15-kilometer monster. In 1979 the length was halved, however, to increase the safety around the track. And even though we don't use the same configuration anymore as back in the day, the spirit remains the same. Corners like Eau Rouge, Pouhon, Blanchimont are some of the most difficult corners in racing, and drivers need equal parts of skill and bravery to get a quick lap time around here. So with all that said, I think that there's no better place for a season finale than right here in Belgium. And before we see where things stand in quali, let's hop on board for the last time this season in the GSRC Lotus 49 for a lap around the track.
All right, we're in the GSRC Lotus 49, so let's do a lap around Spa. Across the start-finish line, you're immediately faced with Eau Rouge. A fair bit of braking at the bottom will set you up to wind over Rodillion. The car gets very light, and getting on the power is extremely difficult here. And since it takes you onto the Kimmel Straight, it's extra important to find traction as soon as it's available. Every tenth of a second sooner you can accelerate, the more top end you're going to find by the time you hit the braking zone for Lacombe. And this chicane will be very popular for overtakes. The downside will be it's easy to come in way too hot, and it won't be uncommon to see drivers cut across the grass to Malmedy. That puts us at the highest point on the track, and so back downhill we go. Because the elevation drops so drastically, you'll brake early for this 180-degree bend. Understeer around here will be a frequent problem. Switch sides quickly because you've got to hit no-name corner. There is AstroTurf around the outside, but it doesn't quite offer as much grip and isn't ideal. You can see the valley with the start-finish line off in the distance, but before you know it, you're braking for Pouhon. I find snap oversteer is something that happens a lot on entry, but it's also difficult gauging how soon and how much you can get back on the power through this second apex. Lap time can be gained if you can unlock its secrets. It's kind of a short burst of Fandies, which can be frustrating in the 49. It always feels like you're compromising one apex or the other and never truly nailing this right-left. Then there's Stavelot. Expect a lot of dirt and dust kicked up when drivers push it that little bit too hard and dip their wheels into the gravel on the left. On the second apex, you've got to really nail the launch off the bend. It doesn't help that the track gently curves while you're accelerating out of it, meaning you'll find yourself countersteering even in fourth gear. Now, while most cars are easily flat out through this left turn, in the Lotus you've got to lift just a little bit to make it through. Then stab the brakes and swing it into Blanchimont. Getting your right foot down quickly will be critical, but also get the car set up for the bus stop. Let it drift off to the left while you throw out the anchor and slow it down. This fiddly little chicane will produce a lot of missed apexes when drivers fly in way too hot, and it's going to be tough finding grip when you exit in the lower gears, meaning many might spin out as they get greedy. The final corner will be La Source and offers a last-ditch opportunity to overtake. Just be careful and watch out for the savvy drivers who can pull an over-under on you and snatch that place right back. What's great for viewers is that creates some thrilling finishes. But as we cross the line, we've now finished a lap around Spa.
You see a lap around Spa and the classic Lotus 49. Now, let's take a look at the points. The Formula One Championship, well, if you've been watching this season, you can see that it's not really much of a contest up there. Michel Dudignon is currently at perfect points, and if he wins today, he will finish with perfect points. 500, the max that you can take with the 2 drop weeks on offer. But Olenek jumps up in a second. Now, unfortunately, Eduardo Prado is not here today, so he will not be able to fight for that second place. Mick Claridge moving up spots as well, but, well, he's still pretty far behind Olenek as well, so that's going to be tough for him to catch, but it is still feasible. Gary Teal and Mick are relatively close, so you need to watch those two to see if they swap positions. Now, the F2 Championship is really what we've been paying attention to in the lead up. Johan, you've got the setup essentially of what's going down there.
Yeah, absolutely. There are four main drivers in the Formula 2 Championship going in today. Those drivers are on top: David Rossi, Hugh Haycock, Steve Hoken, and Philippe Urquhart as well. What we have to keep in mind is David Rossi. He needs a normal result here to grab the title. However, if he has a bad result today at Spa-Francorchamps, because of how drop weeks work, he will get 1 point extra, so he will go to 150. That means that Hugh Haycock at least has to score 18 points, Steve Hogan at least 22 points to try and grab the title. Philippe Urquhart and Andrew Eng are behind him, closing out the top 5, but Andrew Eng isn't sure from a top 5 spot himself, because he's being chased very closely by Andres Bruno and Colin Bentley.
We've also got a Constructors Championship. Now, this is determined by nations since they did that back in 1967. And, well, of course, France is leading the way with 535 points. The UK has been chasing them, but with the winning ways of Michel, just not catchable this season. The US and the UK are really squabbling over that second place. You can see only 6 points separating them, and there's quite a few drivers both competing from each nation here in this series, so that could definitely change hands, and we'll try and give that to you at the end of it if we can figure out the math on that one. Norway jumping up into the top 5 thanks to Olenek. Now, in case we have people who haven't watched the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends before, Johan, what are the race details?
Yeah, this is a 12-round championship. The final round, as we said, of the season. True drop weeks, we already talked about. It means that the 2 worst results of each driver will be removed at the end of the season. At Spa today, the race distance will be 14 laps, open setup, so the drivers can tweak it just to the liking. And the points, very important, they pay out to 25th position. We do have 30 drivers today, so there will be 5 drivers going home without any points.
And as always, you're watching this on the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure and subscribe when you get an opportunity. Excuse me. Yes, we see there on the graphic. All you got to do to subscribe is go to their YouTube page, or if you just are watching this on YouTube right now, scroll down a little bit. You'll see a big red button that says subscribe. Click that. You won't miss a moment here on IESN. Now, time is ticking down here in qualifying. Typically, it can be a little bit tight here at Spa and the Lotus 49 because they're doing close to 2.5 minutes. But Mick Claridge is our pole sitter provisionally, which is surprising because usually Michel Dudignon is incredibly fast here, and Mick admits that sometimes he struggles at the large tracks, but Michel's not able to improve. I see him in the pits, Johan, so...
Yeah, Michel Dudillon had an off-track on top of Radillon in his second lap, Joe, so that immediately invalidated his lap, so he just parked it on the side of the track, gave up, and that really gives Mick Claridge the way that he needs to grab pole position here. Of course, he's out of the title hunt for the championship, but he, of course, wants to finish this race on top, wants to finish the season on top. At the moment, he's 6/10 clear of P2. Ovid Trangerate is sitting around in P3, followed by Dave Price.
Watching Boskus right now, a newcomer as far as we can tell in this series, at least on the broadcast races. See what the Frenchman has underneath him, and his first lap, good enough for 11th, it looks like. As we watch Hugh Haycocks, of course, we have 2 of the Haycockses here, Hugh and Ian, as always. Hugh is the faster of the 2 right now. He's coming across for his second lap. Let's see if he can improve. He does by about 3/10. That's going to put him up to 6. That's very good for Hugh.
Yeah, good lap time for him. Let's take a look at David Rossi, however. He's coming out of the chicane at the moment, going towards the La Source hairpin. So let's see where he can put his car in qualifying. He's currently sitting at 10th position, right behind Gary Thiel, who's having a horrendous qualifying so far. Coming towards the start-finish line, he has to beat a 2:18.5 David Rossi over the start-finish line. He goes quick at 2:18.2, but he stays in 11th position.
And as that was happening, Ove Trangrade has now surpassed Michel Dudignon. He is going to be starting on the front row. That was a nice little jump from the Norwegian. Rob Olenek is finishing his second lap. And it looks like he improves by about 4/10. Ooh, cars are getting faster out there. That puts him on the second row himself. As the time ticks down, Looks like the drivers are now finished, so let's go through our starting order of a very big field today. Mick Claridge is on the pole. Ove Trangrade starts in second with Michel Dudignon very close behind, 5 1,000ths between them. He'll start third. Rob Olenek will be P4. Then it's Dave Price in fifth today with the outside of him, Gary Teal in sixth. Billy Bob Wright in row 4 in 7th, and Daniel Sadro starts 8th. Hugh Haycox starts row 5, and Ian Haycox, both Haycoxes right next to each other, will be 10th.
David Rossi, we spoke about him, starts the race in P11. Big gap though to P10, 7/10 of a second. Bruce Nelson can be found behind him in front of Xavier Boscos, who starts his first race in P13. Philippe Urquhart starts on the outside of row 7 in front of Don Good and Andres Bruno. Bill Tyler is the first driver in the 220s. He starts the race in 17th place in front of Andrew Ang. And in row 10 we can find Marlon Williams and Johnny Bell.
Donald Fitterer starts 21st, followed by Julio Forcolin in 22nd. Then Don Peak starts 23rd, followed by Colin Coker and Gary Anderson, the last two to get a time in. Stefan Schlocker did not get one in. Colin Bentley, Jasmine Beach, Robert Reynolds, and David Beatty round out the field here today of 30 cars. So a lot of drivers taking part in this one as they work their way out to the grid. This is the classic layout, so they start on the downhill. You can see heading towards Eau Rouge instead of La Source like the modern Formula One cars do. Even still, it can get a little bit tangled up depending on whether or not drivers decide to go single file through this fast uphill corner. Just waiting on nobody else, actually. Everybody is now out on the grid. Engines start to rev. Lights are up. Green flag is out. Off the line, Mick Claridge looks pretty decent over Trangarade. Michel Dudignon already getting single file. In fact, pretty much all of the top 10 single file. A little bit of cars battling for position as they climb up the hill. And I'm not seeing any issues yet. It looks like we are clear on the run down towards Lacombe.
Yeah, and the run is over Trangrade Heaven as well on the outside toward Lacombe. Can he challenge Mick Claridge? He cannot break later than the Brit. The Brit stays in front, but the Norwegian has a better run through the chicane. Coming out of it now, he's still to the glued to the gearbox of Mick Claridge.
Oh, we got a problem. Gary Teal got turned around, and he got hit right in the face. I'm not sure who got him, but also Rob Olenek cut the course as he outbraked himself. So a lot of action coming through Lacombe. Come back to the replay a little bit later. It is Claridge still leading, Trangrade second. Dudignon was under attack by Olenek when he outbraked himself, but he holds on to third. This promotes Dave Price up to P4.
Yeah, but he's not close to Dudignon at the moment. Dudignon himself as well. Few car lengths separated between the Frenchman and the Norwegian, who at the moment just cannot follow the Brit. Claridge seems to be driving away in the infield section a little bit, Joe.
We got another big accident, this one in Fanyes. Looks like Ian Haycox got caught up in it. Billy Bob Wright is turned around. Sadro, oh no. That is unfortunate that we now twice have had since compromising multiple races here at the start. Wow. That was Haycox narrowly avoiding him. I'm trying to figure out who that was that ran into him, unfortunately. Watching Gary Anderson's perspective here on the replay. Looks like we won't be able to get that as he is blinking out significantly. Back up at the front. Claridge is still our leader. Oh, what a big slide coming through La Source for Ove Trangrade. Michel Dudignon, who is right at the tail of him, is going to love that as he could have himself a nice slipstream up the Kemmel Straight. We'll see how they both take it through Eau Rouge.
Yeah, absolutely. This kills all the momentum that Ove Trangrade had. Now Dudignon will have a double draft of Claridge and Ove Trangrade in front of him, but on top of Radion, he's not that close by on Kemmel Straight. All the cars are swerving left to right to try and break the toe. Dudignon behind him, not close enough. I wouldn't have expected this, Joe. I thought he would for sure be side by side, but he cannot close down the gap to the Norwegian in front. But with everything that happened, a lot of drivers moved up very far into the field. David Rossi all the way from 11 to 6, but what about Stefan Schlacker in one lap from P26 to P10?
So some drivers being real heads up here today. You can see in the top three in the background, you keep catching hints of Dave Price back in fourth. And amazingly, despite a slowdown penalty since it was the first lap, Rob Olenek is still in fifth today. I don't know how he's still in fifth, but he survived.
Absolutely, he's a little bit of no man's land. He's driving away from David Rossi behind him, but at the same time, quite a big gap to himself and Dave Price, who's 3 seconds in front.
Talked about Stefan Schlacker making inroads forward. He's also very close behind Urquhart. He could get up into ninth here. In fact, he's already looking as they come down into Fanyes. He's going to manage to outbrake him. He's given space at the apex. Philippe lets him have it.
Yeah, Stefan Schlacker normally when he sets qualifying times, he can be found in front of Philippe Urquhart, so no surprise that he's in front of Philippe. Just this quickly, I wouldn't have expected that. It's a great run from the Austrian. Let's see if he can close the gap to Hugh Haycox. Meanwhile, up the battle between Hugh Haycox and Bruce Snelson is still happening as well.
That was Ian Haycox, actually. We could see it on screen there in the background. Ian just managed to slip through on the first part of Stavelo. Bruce now slots in behind through Blanchemont. Very scary corner in this car. And they head towards the bus stop. Everybody getting on the binders hard to get it woed up through this slow chicane. Already getting ready to start lap 3 of this 14-lap race, and is still Mick Claridge leading. No change for the podium position. We need to watch David Rossi in this battle for the lead in the Formula 2 Championship. Sadro is chasing him.
Yeah, but I think if I know David Rossi, we talked about it before the race, he is Mr. Consistent. He doesn't really have any outliers, high finishing positions this season. He's just consistent the whole way through. So I wouldn't be surprised if he just lets Sadro pass here and consolidate his championship lead. It doesn't hurt him if he finishes 1 position lower, and you can see it here. He just lets Sadro go by. David Rossi drops down 1 position, but he stays in the championship lead in the Formula 2.
And second place was up for grabs for a moment, but Trangrade's not letting the Frenchman have it quite yet. Pulls him off through Ravage. Now they swing it through No Name. You can see how closely behind he is following on the Norwegian. It's starting to look a little bit more like it is a matter of time here. And then the question is, can he go and overtake Mick Claridge?
Yeah, it's interesting to see the pace of Mick Claridge and Michel de Leon earlier today in practice. One practice session, Mick was quicker, the other one, Michel was quicker. So they're really like changing coins very quickly at who is on top. At the moment though, over Trangarade, we didn't anticipate him being right in the mix between those two drivers, and he is a little bit the cork on the bottle as he's having a horrible run there towards Stavelo. Michel de Leon might have the momentum now to finally take an overtake.
He is less than a car length back. And these cars do offer some slipstream. He's going to pull from it, but then decides better of it. As they come up to Blanchemont, not really a corner you usually take side by side in these cars. Can get a run potentially off the turn, and he does. He's given the inside as the Norwegian takes to the racing line. Dudignon better onto the brakes side by side. Both of them sliding through the corner. It's going to be who gets a better run off as it's a drag race. The answer is Dudignon. He finally seals the deal the long way around.
Great positioning from the Frenchman on the outside, on the exit of the chicane, and that gives him all the momentum he needs to blast by and get the position, the overtake done before the regional source. Now let's see if the Norwegian can retaliate as they're going towards Eau Rouge, because on Camel Straight, I don't think Dudillon is close enough to use any of the draft of Claridge in front, and he might be a sitting duck. Let's see how quick the Norwegian is outside, coming out of Radillon corner. It seems like he's too far away though, Joe. 4 or 5 car lengths between them. I think that Trangarade will win a little bit of space, but he's too far away to challenge for P2 again.
Yeah, it doesn't look like that one is happening. Don't forget a little bit farther down, Hugh Haycox and David Rossi fighting for 7th position. Oh, did we have a change behind them? Urquhart must have gotten a slowdown, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. He cut the corner at Radillon. He had a little moment, I think. Bumped over his car bounced up, cut the corner, and had to take a slowdown. Don't have to go to a replay of that, but he did lose a position to Ian Haycox, who's now right behind Stefan Schlacker.
So we watch Schlacker, who's still in 9th, hasn't changed position. Ian following very closely. Philippe could get back into this, and don't forget behind them, that's Bruce Snelson in 12th. So mid-pack very hot right now. They come down towards Pouhon. Schlager leading the way as we watch from his gearbox. Paved runoff these days on the outside, still very difficult. Riding it all the way up to the curb, and then they get on the binders for Fannies. Look how strong Ian Haycox is into that corner as he gains all the way up right behind him. My goodness.
Little twitching there from Stefan Slager going towards Stavalo. Ian Haycox still right behind him. And Stefan Slager must be getting nervous now with that car looking left, looking right in his rear view mirrors. This is also great news for David Rossi, who's right in front of these two drivers who can just drive away a little bit. Ian Haycox looking to the inside, the other inside. Slager just cutting him off there. And having none of this, and that means that Ian Haycox actually understeers off the track. Can he save it? He's sliding again through Blanchimont. That's not a corner where you want to be loose. Keeps it in a straight line though. What a save from Haycox there to not loop it around.
He was all four wheels in the grass and then somehow cut it through the inside of Blanchimont. Still holds on to the car, doesn't lose position, hardly loses any time, honestly. Still on the hunt for 9th from Stefan Schlager, just falls back a little bit. Behind them, speaking of falling back, Urquhart looks like he is dropping. So looks like Philippe is struggling in the latter stages of this race. And we had trouble into the bus stop. That is Colin Coker. That was just behind the battle between Peak and Fitterer, with Fitterer came out on top into 18th.
Yeah,
did he have some help?
Yeah, Marlon Williams. I think that Marlon didn't really anticipate how much of a speed difference there would be going into the bus stop chicane. Taking too much speed there, not anticipating the cars in front braking a little bit harder. Just looped Colin Coker around.
That was Colin Bentley who managed to do a great job avoiding the incident and just sneaking by. So that promotes him up to 20th. Watching from his perspective here. Both cars off to the right, disappear. Thank you very much. And away you go. So we come back live a little bit ahead of him. Johnny Bell and Andrew Eng fighting for 17th. Boy, the track is giving us a lot of good racing today.
Absolutely, a lot of little duo pairs at the forming at the moment. Eng and Johnny Bell, as you were saying, Joe, they've been close for, well, at least a few laps now. Andrew Eng is trying to close down the gap to Johnny Bell, but it seems like Johnny has slight pace advantage at the moment. He's just eking away little bit by little bit. If you just jump 2 spaces in front of this pair, there's another nice battle. It's between Bill Tyler and Don Good. It's the battle for 14th position. Bill Tyler seems to be having the upper hand at the moment, but last time around Don Good was 0.4 of a second quicker. So again here as well, just 2 drivers who are really evenly matched, fighting it out together as a pair on track.
Let's stay on this, but I can report that the top 3 have now become the top 2 because Trangray has fallen away.
Oh, sorry, let's go.
Let's
go to Stefan Slager and Ian Haycox, because those 2 drivers are side by side through the bus stop. Ian Haycox having a great run there, but not able to overtake the Austrian. Now looking left, looking right towards the Lassour's hairpin. Doesn't stay on the inside to take a look on the inside. He stays behind because he knows that if he gets a good run out of Lassour's corner, and it seems like he does, he will have the advantage going onto Camel Straight. This is great news as well for the driver in front, David Rossi. He was a second quicker than the battling pair behind him. And you can see Stefan Slager very loose there through Radillon. This is the moment that Ian Haycox was hoping for, because now on the outside of Camel Straight, he has more momentum. He goes in front of the Austrian, but it's not over because Stefan Slager does not a lot of difference in momentum. He immediately dives back into the draft, loses it under braking, now loses it again under braking, but he saves it.
Wow. Great heads up by Ian as well to see that happening, managing to avoid him, but still Schlager gets the position back. That puts him into P9 once more. This fighting is allowing Urquhart to start to regain time on them. They swing down through Rivage and into No Name. I don't think this one is over by any stretch of the imagination. I'm keeping half an eye on the battle for the lead because that's getting close. And Schlager hands the position over.
It might be that Slager got a slowdown from the first corner of Lacombe, because he did cut the corner there, or it is maybe a little bit of sportsmanship, just letting Ian Haycox by for defending quite heavily. But he is back to P10 now at the moment. Ian Haycox is to P9. And now let's keep an eye on this battle, because can Ian Haycox actually drive away from Stefan Slacker, or do they stay together? Now it's the turn of the Austrian to fight hard to win a position.
I'm afraid we got to step away from that. We've got to go to the lead because Dudignon, look how close he is to Mick Claridge coming out of the bus stop. This is the best opportunity he's had yet. Mick knows it. He goes defensive into La Source. Let's see if we can get the over-under from Michel. Just parks it at the apex, so he denies him there, but you can see he's still close behind. The slipstream powerful enough that he's going to get another opportunity. Not brave enough for side-by-side through Eau Rouge. Looks for the shot off of Radillon. Up and over the crest. Can't step away from this right now. We've had problems farther back in the field. They go by Gary Anderson. Another defensive move. Aggressive down to the inside. Last race of the season. Nothing to lose. This is all for the win to deny a perfect result for Michel Dudignon in the points. And so far, he's denying him because Michel can't get by.
Great defensive maneuver from Clarius, aggressive to the inside, but it was all that he needed to keep that P1 position. It's not over yet because Dudillon now on the outside of the right-hander stays there, but that's a long corner, and I imagine that Clarius will eke it out in front of him. He does as they go to Jackie X corner. Clarius stays in P1.
Wow, this is great from old rivals who have faced off many times, and they're getting another round here in the finale. Down through Pouhon. Michel Dudignon, a big slide, goes out a little bit wide, but manages to keep within touch of Mick Claridge. It's not over yet for sure. 8 laps to go, and this is heating up, continuing to stretch away from Ove Trangrade now at about 3 seconds.
Yeah, you would imagine that when these two drivers are fighting this hard, they wouldn't stretch away from over Trangrade, but nothing is less true because they're just eating away from the Norwegian bit by bit. The moment coming out of Staffalo, it doesn't seem like Dudillon is close enough to launch another attack. It seems like that Claridge should be at least safe until they reach Camel Straight.
Coming up towards Blanchimont now, Michel Dudignon falls back slightly, regroups. This was where he started to get close last time, though. Coming through the bus stop, he got right underneath that gearbox. You can see him closing down under the braking, and another slide, this time from Claridge into the first apex. That costs him, and Dudignon is within 0.2 of a second. They fly down the Grand Prix pits towards La Source. He's not as close as he was last time by. Looks to set himself up once again. Squirming a little bit under power. They plunge down the hill towards the start-finish line. Crossing now to 7 laps to go. The number 1 car looking to take his 10th victory of the season, but he is being made to work for this one.
Absolutely, but he is having a great run out of Radillon corner onto Camel Straight. Clarius defending the inside, hugging the inside line, sells a dummy there. Dudillon loops it to the inside. They touch each other. Clarius hard into the wall. Dudillon spins it around as well. Now this will give the lead to over Trangrade, I think. I don't think that Dudillon has damage. Clarius for sure has to be out of the race because there was a hard contact with the wall, but this is something that we've seen several times throughout the years, Joe. Contact between Claridge and Dudillon. Now, I think that this happened because Claridge defended the inside, went back to the outside, back to the racing line, but Dudillon tried to sell the dummy, stick it to the inside, a little bit of a Daniel Ricciardo move there, and then Claridge went back to the inside and they just collided with each other.
Yeah, unfortunately, the hard racing came to naught, but these two are very fair competitors. They hardly ever get angry at one another, and twice Michel tried to hand the position back, but it looks like Mick is way too damaged. He had to take a tow, unfortunately. Michel got going. He's down in 3rd with a long ways to catch up to the top 2. I wouldn't doubt that he's got the pace to try and run down Trangrade and Price. Question is, does he have enough time?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Now, at the moment, the gap between himself and over Trangrade is, I think, 8 seconds. So let's see later in the race if he can close down that gap. Meanwhile, how about we look at Hugh Haycox and Daniel Cedro for a bit. That's the battle for P5. Top 5 position now with Mick Claridge being out of the running. They're really close together. Daniel Cedro being quick so far early in the race, but it seems like Hugh Haycox overtook him a few laps ago. Hugh Haycox is just having a blistering race. Started the race at P9, worked himself up 4 positions already. and he's trying to close out the season strong. Of course, you remember he's in the running for the Formula 2 championship. He's doing everything right, but at the moment where David Rossi is, David will score enough points to finish P1 in the season. What Hugh Haycock's need is to finish where he is, and also to David Rossi to retire.
All right, now Sadro certainly making sure that Hugh earns this top 5 position. The UKNI driver, of course, racing out of France, so not too far from Belgium. Well, not too far in terms of me, an American, but they come through. Oh no, a bad injury to Rouge. He loses it and into the wall hard. Hugh Haycock's upside down. That is going to be it for his race. He's going to have to take a long tow back to the pits.
And that's going to be it for his championship aspirations as well. Let's actually look what happened there. He already loses it under braking, it seems like. The car starts to steer to the left. And once he reaches the grass, once he touches the grass, there's no saving anymore. There's a lot of runoff area at the moment through Rouge, but he just cannot save it anymore. Flips it around, and that will be the race over for the UK driver.
Very unusual accident. It's rare that we see them going into there. Usually it's coming off the corner that these cars get all sorts of swirly. So that was really unfortunate. Great news for Sadro, though, and even better news for David Rossi, who's now promoted to 6th.
Yeah, absolutely. David Rossi just has to finish. And this is what we said before. David Rossi is Mr. Consistency this season. He showed it once again. A lot of other drivers are having troubles today, but he's just, consistent. He's conservative. He knows when to give up a battle and just fight another day. And at the moment, his fighting is bringing him to P6 this race and P1 in the Formula 2 championship.
Now, if Bill is watching, I can hear him as we go to 19th. I can hear him yelling that it's not a legitimate hard charger, but Stefan Schlacher up to 7th, having started 26th. No mean feat and doing very well. But we're watching Don Peak and Julia Colin battle just within the top 20. Now, Don has been a little bit of a cork in the bottle for a little bit of this race. He had a train of cars earlier. Most of them have managed to get by, I believe. I haven't been able to watch super closely. But Giulio, the last of them, trying to see if he can overtake the American. I know he races out of Club, Ohio, but I can tell you that he is a Hoosier through and through. Currently racing for the first time this season in the Lotus 49.
Yeah, good to see Don Peak racing with us today. Giulio for Colin is one of the drivers that actually had some trouble at first lap of the race. Had a little spin that cost him a few positions. So good to see that the Italian is fighting his way forward, even though he's only in 20th position at the moment, trying to get by Peak.
Just hanging with him for now. Don doing a good job of managing to keep him from getting an opportunity. Just at arm's length, about a half a second behind. They swing it through Blanchimont. Let's see if the Italian can manage to get a run. Not quite a good enough one. Even though he closes into 0.3 of a second, Don's still going slightly defensive into the bus stop chicane. That allows Giulio to gain even more and putting more pressure now as they come up to La Source. Slightly defensive at first, comes back to the racing line. Oh, but Don sliding it through rear of the car, almost coming around, but does a good job keeping hold of it coming through the hairpin.
Colin now is not right on the gearbox, but he is close though, and he might get an overtake through Camel Straight. Slows down for different approaches from both drivers through Eau Rouge there. Foucault a lot earlier on the brakes, and you can see him on top of Radion. That's helping him a lot. Over Camel Straight, you can see the momentum that the Italian is building, getting closer and closer to Peak, diving to the inside. Peak stays on the racing line, can maybe brake a little bit later there, swing around the outside of Lecombe, side by side through the chicane now. Foucault now on the outside and goes to the inside now where it matters, because now there's two corners to the right in a row. On the outside, Peak tries to get more momentum, but goes through the gravel, and that gives the position to Foucault, who gets P19.
Don down to 20th out of that. Just a little too wide through Malbody, unfortunately. We got to jump up to 7th place. I remember I mentioned Stefan Schlacher on a move forward. Well, he might lose one here. Ian Haycox close behind. The elder of the two Haycox is still running and looking to see if he can pick up the torch. Ooh, this is a very good run coming out of Blanchimont, though. Schlacher knows it. He holds the middle of the road to try and defend. but he's a little bit too deep on the brakes. Both of them too deep on the brakes. Neither's going to be able to come away with a change of positions.
I think that Ian Haycox expected Stefan Slacker to take the inside of the corner, so he thought, I'll just swing it around. But suddenly the Austrian was also there, so he had to step on the brakes hard. But Source, he brakes too late this time around, spins the Austrian around. Both of them can continue, though I don't think they have any damage. They will lose a position to Philippe Urquhart, who gets by both of them.
But Schlacker got tipped a second time. That was Urquhart that came into him, was trying to avoid him, and I think suspension damage takes the Austrian out. Let's watch from above. You'll see a second hit here because he was just stuck in the middle of the road, and poor Philippe just picked the wrong side.
Yeah,
looks like netcode too.
Yeah, Philippe 100% tried to go around it. It was netcode, but I think that even without the netcode, those two drivers would have hit each other. So shame to see the Austrian, who had a great run. We said it before, already making up 20 positions, or near to 20 positions. See his race come to an unfortunate early end. Now let's go to P10 as well. There's a good battle happening there between Bill Tyler and Andrew Ng. Those are two drivers that we mentioned earlier in the race as well. I don't think they were fighting with each other at that point. They certainly have found each other now. It is Andrew Ng that seems to be a little bit quicker. Last time around he was half a second quicker than Bill. He's hounding him now for a top 10 position.
I am surprised that Andrew Ng is quicker. Look at the front of his car. I mean, usually you don't talk about these cars really needing their aero just because they don't require downforce. They want to be slippery in a straight line. Well, you can see the radiator right there. It's not exactly slippery in a straight line right now.
Maybe the less weight for Andrew Ng is helping him today. He seems to be at least a lot quicker than Bill Tyler as they go through Fangers here. Few corners before they reach Tafalo, and there's where you need a good exit so you can try and overtake through Blanchimont towards the bus stop chicane. Let's see how these drivers approach these corners. Bill seems to be sliding a lot through these corners, and you can see that Andrew Ng immediately gets more momentum out of it. Again, a little slide from Bill Tyler, but he also seems to be just more courageous on the throttle, taking more speed onto the back straight. Andrew Ng is, however, in the draft, so he will be able to close down the gap little bit by little bit. No overtaking Blanchimont, but how will the drivers brake for this corner? How much speed will it take for this corner? Seems to be evenly matched. Bill Tyler using a lot more of the road, and that's helping him to defend easily going into the bus stop chicane. Andrew Ng has to be a little bit more courageous, I think, for Blanchimont to try and overtake through the bus stop.
He was looking for the run off of the bus stop. Unfortunately, it looked like Bill just parked it at the second apex. I tell you what, though, Andrew Ng and Bill Tyler have gained a number of positions in this race, 17th and 18th on the grid, respectively, now up to 10th and 11th. As we're watching this, we'll keep half an eye on Michel Dudignon, who's been gaining on Price, but let's stay with this, see how Andrew is in a straight line. He's good up over Rodillion. Oh, but his momentum's interrupted, no place to go, as Bill Tyler just right where he wants to be.
Yeah, and I don't think that Andrew Ng has enough momentum at the moment to try and get by. A little bit of connection issues there as well. So Bill Tyler stays in front for another lap. This is where we found him last time around. So maybe let's keep an eye on actually P2, because P2 already changed positions. Dudignon has overtaken Dave Price. I wanted to say that Dudignon was extremely quick the last few laps. He was around 2 seconds quicker than Price last time around. This time it happened in Fenier's corner. Just a great run out of Pouhon for the Frenchman. Dave Price also was just wiggling before that, lost a lot of momentum. Didn't try to defend his P2 position, just knew that the Frenchman was a lot quicker, let him by. And this means that the last barrier for a P1 finish for Dudignon is out of the way now. He is around 3 seconds behind, 3.1 seconds behind over Trangerade, with just a few more laps to go. He doesn't have a lot of options yet, but he does have the speed to close down the gap.
Yep, last 3 laps for Trangerade, the 16.4, 16 flat, and a 16.6. That 16 flat, the fastest lap of the race for Trangerade. Dudignon, on the other hand, 15.2, 15.2, 15.5, and now as he crosses the line, a 15.3. So he is on his way. Oof, this is going to be tense down to the end with 2 laps to go.
Absolutely. Let's quickly hop back to the P10 battle. Andrew Ng this time around through Blanchimont, taking a much wider line. You can see that he's also having a lot more speed that way, under braking through the bus stop. Goes a little bit earlier on the brakes. Actually overshoots himself. I think that he released the brakes a little bit in the braking zone to try and close down the gap to Bill. But this means that he loses connection and actually has to look behind him a bit, as well as Don Good is closing in.
And through the magic of sim racing, obviously Ang's nose cone is back. Whoa, he is trying to go very hot into these corners. Like you said, though, the run off is really hurt by that, the way that he's being so aggressive. And this is exactly when he wants to have a good shot off the corner. See if he can maybe make up a little time over Radillion. No, not meant to be. Just a little bit too far back up the Kemmel Straight.
Yeah, sometimes you want that, to have a slightly better run out of Le Source, so you can use the draft towards Eau Rouge to really suck you up and then get the double draft out of Radillon corner. This time Andrew Ang was just too far away, and you can see that he's still closing in on Bill Tyler. But Bill, I have to applaud his defense at the moment, Joe, because he's just really calm, it seems like. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and he's thwarting every move that Andrew is throwing at him for the P10 position.
Wow, he is right up underneath them. They come out of Rivage.
Sorry, let's go to Ian Haycox. Let's go to Ian Haycox, who almost lost control of his car, almost put it into the wall once he was going through Pouhon. I don't really know what happened. I think he just lost all the grip in his car when he went into Pouhon. And that kept going, and he was just drifting through the whole set of corners there, going over the grass in the end.
Let's stay on this replay, because Andrew Ang lost a position after a mistake coming into the very same corner, into Pouhon. I think he managed to stay out of the barrier. Ooh, it's close. Wow. You don't get much closer than that without hitting anything. Midwest driver thanking his lucky stars. And great cognizance to just steer out of it, too, at the last second.
Yeah,
if he hadn't done that, I think he might have nosed into it.
Absolutely. I think there's not even a Belgian waffle that will be able to fit between that. He kept it out of the wall. He can continue. Try to close down the gap to P10. Now let's go maybe to the lead at the moment. Over Trangarate, Michel Dudillon. We were talking about him. We were saying the gap is closing. Well, the gap is closed down. 1 second. The Frenchman is haunting the Norwegian with only one more lap to go. Well, basically half a lap to go. This will be a battle to the very end, Joe.
I think he's going to get one shot at this. He is less than a second back now and gaining. And Trangarade knows the score. He knows that he needs to try and deny Dudillon that perfect points haul here. 500 points is what Michel is aiming for. Coming through Fanyes now. You can see he's closed it down to about 0.6 of a second. It's going to be into the bus stop, I think. That's going to decide everything. If not, he'll get maybe one more chance into La Source, depending on how close he is. Stays about 0.5 of a second back. Up towards Blanchimont now. Trangarade's keeping him at arm's length. From how far back is Dudillon willing to try and do it? He continues to close down. 0.3 of a second now. A little bit too far back. This is going to have to be really bonsai if he's going to try and overtake here. Doesn't even stick his nose out. Stays in the racing line. Out of the bus stop now. Look at him gain. He's less than a car length back, but he doesn't quite get a good run off the corner. Still a defensive move down into La Source. Could see an over-under into here. Ove Trangarade looking to get himself a run off of it. It's going to be a drag race. He bobbles a little bit. Is that going to be enough? It's down to the line. And no, it is going to be Trangarade who denies him the perfect score. Wow.
Fantastic racing from Over Trangarade. That was just enough. Meanwhile, behind, Dave Price will finish P3, Rob Olenek P4, Daniel Sedro finishes P5. But let's put the camera on the driver in 6th position, David Rossi, because he will finish 6th today in the race. But after we crowned Michel Dudillon the champion of the Formula 1 Championship a few races ago, it is now time to put the golden crown on David Rossi's head, who will win the Formula 2 Championship today here at Spa-Francorchamps.
Got a little bit of a battle for 10th, though. Bill Tyler and Don Good. Don picking up the torch from Andrew Ang. They swing it through the bus stop. He's awful close. Oh, but he gets too greedy on the power. And wheel spin is going to send him backwards. He still maybe sticks his nose out, just hoping. Oh, as Bill goes defensive anyways. Don Good not nearly close enough for that one. So that's going to be a nice top 10 for Bill Tyler.
Behind them, a big crash between Andres Bruno and Johnny Bell on the final corner of the race. They hit each other in the source, and I think that some of them actually were disqualified for going over the incident limit. I think Andres Bruno at least did. Donald Fitzroy wins 2 positions because of that.
And poor Johnny Bell's trying to limp it to the line. The car's so damaged, it's crabbing incredibly hard. Watch him try to take off. This is how damaged the car is. Just he can't even accelerate.
Yeah, it reminds me a bit of what Stefan Slager had after his incident. Just not able to put the power down anymore, and he really has to limp it home. Those are horrible final 100 meters for this championship.
The last car on the lead lap gonna be Don Peak, who managed to get 20th position today. It was 5 100ths at the line that stopped Michel Dudignon from winning 10 out of 12 races this season. But we'll dissect that a little bit more after we come back from a break. We'll have the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around as we watch all the upcoming races here on the GSRC.
Of the best sim racers, $100,000 on the line. Who will rise to the challenge? This is the most competitive and sought after season in iRacing World Championship history. This is where legends are made. This is the Porsche Esports Super Cup.
Welcome back to Spa-Francorchamps, where we just watched the final round of the Grand Prix Legends for this season. And though it may have been a rout in the points chase, I tell you what, this last race gave us one of the most incredible races we've seen all season. Trangrade, your winner by 5 100ths of a second over Michel Dudignon, who very nearly took perfect points, but a wreck and a run back to the line at the very end of the race unfortunately denied him that. Still, I think he's got to be proud of 9 out of 10 rounds going to him for the win. Dave Price returning after a little bit of an absence and getting himself a nice little podium. Rob Olenek, who had a slowdown on the first lap, which usually is a death knell at a track like this, managed to climb back to 4th. And not a bad recovery from him. Daniel Sadro getting 5th. But our Formula 2 champion as well, David Rossi, with a 6th place, continuing that consistency. Well earned. Philippe Urquhart going from 14th to 7th. And then Ian Haycock's behind him, finishing 8th. Javier Boscus was 9th and really didn't get to cover him, but that was a nice climb of 4 positions. And rounding out the top 10 is Bill Tyler.
Yeah, you cannot really say Bill Tyler without mentioning Don Good as well this race. He finishes just behind him in P11. Andrew Ang finishes his championship in P12 this race. Donald Fitterer, good race from him, winning 8 positions at Spa, coming home in 13th. Colin Bentley, that was our hard charger of today. He didn't set a qualifying time, so he had to start all the way down in 27th, but comes home P14 in the end. Johnny Bell, what a shame what happened with him in the last corner. He's still classified though as P15. He finishes in front of Marlon Williams and Guido Fourcolin. Colin Coker comes home in P18 in front of Don Peak, our final driver on the lead lap. And Andres Bruno, he rounds out the top 20.
21st going to go to to Robert Reynolds. Jasmine Beach was behind him in 22nd. Gary Anderson 3 laps down in 23rd. I think he was a DNF actually. Gary Teal got the car back out there after his repairs and finished 24th. Stefan Schlacker as well unfortunately ran into some problems. He finished 25th. Hugh Haycox P26. Billy Bob Wright did return to the track as well. 27th for him. Nick Claridge 28th. He DNF'd. Bruce Nelson 29th and David Beatty last of the field in 30th. Daniel Sadro joins us with a top 5 today. Daniel, looked like you had some real action out there. We didn't get to cover all of it just because of the intensity of the front of the field, but tell us about what your race was like from your perspective.
Well, I knew it was going to be an intense race. I was in the middle of 5 cars that qualified within a tenth of each other, so I was really expecting just a good, hard race, especially knowing some of the guys around me. Unfortunately, there were a few casualties, and David Rossi, he was hard to get around. I tip my hat off to him, but I finally made it around him. And then when Hugh came around, I knew he'd pass me. I just think I stayed in front of him a little longer than I thought I could. But unfortunately, he had his issue in Eau Rouge, and then after that it was pretty boring. Just putting some laps in.
We see you around here every once in a while, obviously, but not really in it for the championship just because of the competition around here. So what's your goal next season now that things have wrapped up here?
Well, it's my goals are not positional because when you have 10 fast guys like there are here, finishing 5th is an accomplishment. If there are 2 fast guys, well, I better be on the podium. I feel so. I think I was 26, 27 seconds behind. I think narrowing that down to 25 and maybe getting in Rob Olenik's rearview mirror a little bit more. I think that's got to be my goal.
Sounds realistic to me. Of course, we've got, with the change of the seasons, the new build coming up. So do you have anything that you're looking forward to that iRacing's putting out?
Oh, absolutely. The Barcelona track, 100% is going to be huge. I can't wait to race it in pretty much every car that I run. Well, maybe not some of the dirt sprint cars, but I'm definitely looking to that. And I hear that they are doing the new damage model on the Skippy, so I'll put in a couple races in there just to bend some steel.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to that. Congratulations on the top 5 today, and hope we see you next season.
Oh, thanks. And I look forward to seeing you guys next season. You do such a great job for us.
Oh, thank you. That was Daniel Sadro, who finished 5th today. Johan's going to be talking to Mick Claridge, who unfortunately didn't have the finish he wanted today.
Yeah, he was cleared by the medical center, and he's now in our booth to talk with us, Mick Claridge. A shame what happened today with you and Michel de Dion. Can you really give us your point of view? What exactly happened going into Lacoum Corner? Do you get a copy, Mick? seems like he's trying to connect once again. So let's give him a few seconds. Otherwise, I'll throw it to you, Joe, with another. Yeah, let's go to Stefan Slacker first, because Stefan Slacker was also coming in for an interview, and Joe caught up with.
Yeah, Stefan had some good battles going on out on track, but it looks like a bad braking moment for one of the Haycoxes, unfortunately, cost him the race. Although, once again, you and Netcode have not had a great relationship this season, Steph.
No, I don't know what is up with Netcode and me, especially the last 3 weeks. But yeah, it really has destroyed some very great races for me lately. But one thing I really don't understand is that first lap. For me, 26th to 10th is like, huh? What? Where? Huh?
Yeah, you made some great inroads. We were following your progress. What happened in qualifying that cost you both laps?
I have to say the cold weather did catch me out a little bit. I was expecting some colder weather, like we sorta had here. But yeah, I had so much turn in both times at Lecumbe that I both times went too far to the over the inside curb and invalidated my lap.
All right. Well, with the new season getting turned over, we just got the schedule out. But if you had your pick, what is a track you would like to see the 49 series run?
Uh, it's a hard question. I love the Lotus 49 pretty much everywhere, but if I had to choose a track, it would be probably Road America, because I love the track no matter what car. Um,
So you-
it just comes down to how the competitors are also on the track. So yeah, any track that is fun to race at, I'm good for.
Well, you get your wish. I believe Road America is on the schedule next season. Well, commiserations for today, and hopefully we'll see you back next season.
Most definitely, and hopefully this time a podium will be in place.
All right, we'll look forward to that. We'll give one more shot at Mick Claridge, who joins us again. Johan going to try and see if his mic is working.
Hey, Mick, do you got a copy?
Looks like, unfortunately, Mick's mic just not working today for some reason. That is a shame. Would have loved to hear his thoughts. So we're going to have to close it out for today. Once again, a huge thank you to the Lotus 49 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage here on the Global Sim Racing channel, as well to iRacing for putting us on IESN. I think today's race showed why this series deserves to be on there. It was some great action. If you want to keep the action on your screen, make sure and subscribe by clicking the big red subscribe button. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Johan, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media. You can find us on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Next race up is going to be at Monza here on the Lotus 49 series. That'll be Saturday, September 14th at 9:30 a.m. We got a 2-week break, but we also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. So check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.